what would be your call to adventure?
I genuinely don't think there was a specific moment. It's been an evolution, definitely. Lockdown did play a big part in it. I had tried to get back to fitness just before we went into the whole COVID thing. I had come from being relatively fit. I was doing, I'd probably say triathlon as my main sport, with literally a once a year, usually the Salford Triathlon and the City of Manchester 10k. The Booper, Great Manchester Run had just got too expensive to be literally a 40-minute stroll around my backyard. So the City of Manchester was based at Eastlands, where the City Stadium is, and then it moved, or it was a different event, to Media City. So they were fairly flat, really easy to get to, cheap events that I enjoyed kind of having an annual focus on. Go out, run fast, and see how I did. So the running wise, I was quite pleased when I managed to get to a sub 40 level, and that was one of the kind of little boxes that I'd ticked, and I was very, very happy with. And I was thinking, I did a couple of half marathons, again, once a year or maybe once every 2 years. I did a half marathon event. I got to about 1:35 half marathon. I was thinking, I could probably get to 1:30. That would be a nice target to set with that. And then they announced that they were relaunching the Manchester Marathon in 2012, and it was coinciding with the year of the London Olympics, and there's always kind of a little bit of a buzz about athletics and things like that, and so I thought I'm gonna enter my first marathon. Don't particularly like the idea, but I do like the idea of ticking the box, and if I'm going to do it, the streets of Manchester is going to be the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
And so I started training. I hit a little setback because I was playing field hockey at the time, and I got a dead leg 1 week, which put me out for a couple of weeks. I've always heard about dead legs. When the bully at school would punch you in your thigh, and you'd go ow for a couple of hours, as you kind of remembered. But a proper dead leg, really, I couldn't walk properly for over 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I was nearly out for 3 weeks with no running at all. So that was a little bit of a setback. And then we were taking a group out with work to the Masai Mara in Kenya, and I had a really bad reaction to my yellow fever jab. When we had our inoculations, it's really bad flu symptoms, and that flattened me for nearly 6 weeks. So coming out of that, on top of everything else, I was so far behind on my training plan, and I just sacked it off in my head, and I was like, I'll get in touch with the organisers, I'll ask for a deferment. And by the time they came back to me, they said, no, we've spent all the money, so we're not deferring any places. So standing on the start line, the furthest I'd ever ran was half a marathon in the worst weather. I mean, Manchester's pretty good at throwing up some shitty weather at times, but this was biblical. It was gale force sideway winds with a sub-zero wind chill factor. They were pulling people out of the race with hypothermia by the halfway mark. One of my wife's friends, who I was running with from her hockey team, her partner is a doctor. She ended up setting up a triage in a local pub to deal with, people who were getting really ill during the race. They'd all given their socks out to people to use as gloves and stuff like that. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And then the finish line, the bag drop had been run by the local scout troop, who had a tent and just took the bags and threw them in. So there was no organisation to it and everything like that. So when I finished the race, in a really bad way as it was, they couldn't find my bag, and after waiting for half an hour, 45 minutes, I was so deep in hypothermia, it was ridiculous, and the whole experience just put me off from running. I didn't run again for another year, and I'd just lost any enjoyment for running. And I decided to do the Manchester Triathlon, the Salford Triathlon, as it was, and the training had been kind of going okay with that. And then just before our Dylan was born, in the July of 2013, I was on my bike one morning doing a regular turbo trainer session, and I just couldn't move my legs. It was like I was riding through deep mud. I thought, oh, this doesn't feel good. And I thought I'd put my trainers on and go for a run instead. And I put my trainers on, and I got to the end of the street, and thought, I'd rather just go home and have something to eat. And I think, and it's quite common, or can be common, in men with the birth of their first child, is that they suffer a massive testosterone drop. It's something that's an inbred reaction to curb the roaming process and keep the male at home, for childbirth. And yeah, it lost my drive for competing and exercising. And by the time the triathlon rolled round, I was lucky to finish it. And it was a horrible experience, and I just fell out of love with exercising. Fast forward to 6 years later, 2 stone plus heavier, feeling pretty miserable, where I couldn't even get down on the floor to play with the kids because it was uncomfortable. I realised I needed to lose weight again. So it started a progression of better managing my food portions to help me to lose weight, to increase my activity, to burn more calories, and start to lose some weight so I could get back into exercise. And yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't particularly like the idea of running, but my wife bought me an entry to the one of the Lakeland Trails events. It might have been the Staveley event, which was a 17k trail race in the Lake District. And I was just like, Christ, I admire your optimism. I'm not even sure I can even run that distance. And I don't know, she believed in me, and I started to go out and do some more running. And then COVID hit, that event got cancelled, everything got put onto the back burner, and by this time I had lost some weight. I was feeling a little bit fitter and feeling like a tiger, in a cage during lockdown. I was just like looking for an outlet, and I found things online such as Terry's Rockman group and the Tough Mudder challenges, and just being able to do things that I could do from home, just allowed me to get that fitness back, but be involved in a community as well. I don't have friends, I don't have a lot of people that I hang out with, and so the idea of community was really cool. And even if it is virtually or online, that for me was a really nice experience and not something that I'd had before. And yeah, I thrived during that process, and as we came out of the lockdowns and we started to get into the events, I found I was, for my age, certainly was at a decent level with it. So I'd realised I liked being outdoors. I liked being in rugged countryside rather than tarmac or roads and paths, and I liked hills better than flat. And so it was off-road events I was looking at, so things like off-road triathlon. I did an off-road duathlon in Neath. I did a Race the Train race from, it's up near us, it's the East Lancs Railway. So you start from one place and you've got to race a steam locomotive and try and get back.
That is amazing.
Things like that. So just fun events that just weren't, a point to point. Run from there to there as fast as you can. Yeah. It had something that had a little bit more purpose to it. Yeah. And then by the time I decided to do my first in real life Tough Mudder, I realised that it was just the perfect thing. I could run fast, I was on trails, but I got to climb over stuff, pick stuff up, put it back down again, and do all different kinds of things. So yeah, that was 3 years ago now, and that's how my life has changed. So to answer your point, which has been a very long time coming, I don't know, there's no one significant thing where I can say that's where it happened. It has been an evolution, But now things are getting a little bit more serious, and I think now my call to action came, last year with my first podium at Spartan, I think.
Yeah. So, in those sort of past 3 years where you did your first like Tough Mudder to now winning a series of Spartan, like how has that progression happened? What have you done in that time to get you there?
I'm fortunate in that I've got a fair amount of time to train. I'm a self-employed consultant, so I don't work every day. The work I do is varied and at different times. The way that it kind of works within our household is because usually the kids are at school and the wife's at work during the day, so they have events on in the evening. The wife plays hockey, the kids have their after school clubs and football and basketball and things like that, so I've got the mornings. I got into, during the lockdowns and things like that, a habit of getting up early, particularly in summer when it was hot, when we were allowed to travel short distances. I'd get up at 3 a.m. and head somewhere that normally would be absolutely heaving with people and finding it absolutely deserted, getting a run in, not seeing a single soul, and getting back to the car and home before I even passed another person. And that to me was just absolutely perfect. That's where I fell in love with my trail running and my trail selfie, taking pictures whilst I'm running, just to appreciate the beauty of of where we are. And realizing that I could train in the morning. I've got all the time. I'll get up at like today, knowing I had a long train journey ahead of me, I had to get up at 5 so I could do 45 minutes on the bike before I went to the trainer, otherwise I wouldn't be exercising today.
Yeah.
But I'll get up as early as I want, even if it means sacrificing sleep, because I'll catch up with it eventually. So I can train in the mornings, every morning, and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then it gives me, a good opportunity to stay on top of my fitness, to try new things, and whether it gives me an advantage or not, I don't know, but it has allowed me to keep fitter than I would be if I'd had a regular 9 to 5 and then having to deal with the kids and things like that on top of it, I suppose.
Yeah. What does your training mostly consist of?
I think the other good thing about, although I suppose I am specialising in OCR, even in itself that's so multidiscipline that you're not really, you can't focus on any one thing. Because I've never done it before, anything like it, my grip strength and upper body isn't as strong as it could or should be. So I've been spending a lot more time working on that. But I've got a combination of things which is keeping my metabolic rate boosted. So I will do things, turbo trainer sessions, where I'm just moving my legs to flush out the lactic acid, keep my metabolism boosted, calorie burn, so I don't have to change my diet and my food that I eat, because it's all crap and high calorie and high rubbish. And then I swim twice a week. I hate swimming. I really don't like it, but I do like the idea that if you were to suddenly say, come on, let's just go do a triathlon, I would actually be able to get in the pool, swim a mile, and get on a bike and do it.
Yeah.
I do like having that, even though I don't like the thought of it. And I really don't like swimming, but I do 2 mile-long swims a week, which is, I don't know, it is nice on my shoulder recovery. I think I've got a dodgy shoulder, and I like how I feel afterwards. So right up to the point of getting in the water, and the process and action of swimming for just over half an hour is hell on earth. But I do like it when I get out of the pool and think, I'm glad I did it. So I swim twice a week. I'll do a couple of, I follow that with an hour on the cross trainer again. So I'm I don't know. I'm not really. It's more fat burn intensity. I'd never go out of zone 1, probably in that. Very rarely would I even go into zone 2 for it, because I only like to run 3 times a week. I don't think my joints would really like me much if I up the intensity of my running.
Yeah.
So I like to run 3 times a week. So I usually run Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays. And I'll average 12 to 15, 16k 3 times a week. And that, sustains me running wise. And when I can, then I'll get to do some strength work, which is mainly I'm quite into circuit based training. So in my gym, I'll just set out a circuit which is going to involve me doing some press ups and pull ups or ring rows as the key things as well, to get that upper body and grip strength kind of thing there, and then put in some stuff that will activate my shoulders, some walking lunges, some carries and things like that, and just don't stop. So I don't like pushing some weights, sitting down for 10 minutes and then go pushing some more. I do like to keep my training just moving all the time, so I do it all without rest.
Yeah.
So I'll do a bunch of the press ups I want to do, and then go into ring rows. Quite like to superset them, or just do one pulling activity, then one pushing activity.
Yeah.
And do that, but working like for different muscle sets. But it's all compound movements and things like that. So it's a bit more functional strength rather than just isolating or targeting muscles. So it's not about muscle growth, I suppose. It's a bit more about endurance and.
Yeah.
But my strength has improved. I've noticed that with the racing I did this weekend. Is that my grip strength is a lot better than it was this time last year, which is a little bit encouraging.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something I kind of want to continue to focus on.
Yeah.
As well as my ability to hang and support myself from my hands for longer. I think that's the thing as well.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a lot of just like general physical preparedness rather than like specialising too much.
100%, yeah. I think so. I like it, keeps it interesting. I actually really look forward to going to the gym every day. I really miss it when I can't. And then the other thing I was fortunate to do, we come up for 18 months ago, but our local gym, I'm a member of Salford Community Leisure. So the city of Salford has got, I think it's 6 or 8 leisure centres around the whole city.
Yeah.
And 3 or 4 of them have got pools. They've all got gyms, but they've all got different things. But your membership gets you full access to all of the facilities.
Yeah.
But they built a CrossFit box, and the CrossFit has its own separate membership. But they do 2 sessions a week on a Monday and Wednesday at 10 a.m. for SCL members to go. So they do it like as a CrossFit boot camp type of thing. But the 2 coaches, Chris and Quinny, they'll do some CrossFit type stuff, some high roxy type stuff, and it's a little bit more like the strengthy, but with intensity as well.
Yeah.
So twice a week I do, these sessions, which have really helped to increase my aerobic capacity and my lactic threshold as well, because they're just really good at pushing me. And it's a really mixed group as well, but they've got this talent that everybody, pushes themselves to their own limit, so there's no real competition, or it's not, a feeling that I'm showing off because I can do everything twice as quick or than anybody else or anything like that. It's just a really nice group atmosphere. But I always come out of it feeling like I'm going to die. And that's really, really helped me. I think that's one of the big things that really helped me with this race this weekend.
Yeah.
Because I don't normally, I can train hard. It's, I don't know, humbling and quite gratifying that I do have random people come to me in the gym and say, wow, I just love watching you train. Because I don't know, because I do things differently. I don't use the attachments in the same way as everybody else does. It's not things as standard, and people seem to enjoy watching me train. But to come out of the way and actually comment about it is something that's really, really nice. So although I work hard when I'm on my own, I very, very rarely walk out the gym, dying.
Yeah.
I still struggle to put that intensity that I get with just the coach just looking at me, go, come on, do it. So yeah, those sessions have been super beneficial for me. But yeah, every session I suppose is different. I like to mix it up, so all my circuits are different. I like to throw in things like what started as a session. It's a 12 days of Christmas workout. So you start off with an exercise, and then you do 2 of another exercise and that one exercise. Then you do 3 of another exercise, 2 of that exercise, 1 of that exercise. So you're building up, so it ends up with being a 365 rep complete workout. And again, that's just quite fun because I do it like circuit based, different types of activities, and incorporate other things. So like the one might be burpee, box jump into a pull-up as well as part of the movements as well, and devil's presses and things like that. And so it's not just a solitary movement, it's a compound movement with it as well. So I like that.
Yeah.
And Tabata style as well. 20 seconds work, 10 seconds rest, and going as hard as I can. So sometimes cardio, just purely cardio based, and then sometimes doing a minute of the cardio and a minute of the strength for a 4-minute Tabata with a 1 minute rest. So do 8 cycles of 5 minutes with a warm up either side and a cool down. And yeah, just love doing it. I don't know. It's my day feels incomplete if I haven't had the chance to do something like that.
Yeah. You definitely train hard. It sounds like you train pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And I find with people that do the sort of races and events that you do, it is just like your lifestyle. There's it's just, I want to stay fit. It's not, I'm doing this specifically for an event. That doesn't seem to be the motivator most of the time. It's just, I'm trying to be the best me for me, and the races are they're just there. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, do you know, I think it would, and it's just at the moment, me and the Spartan races are compatible with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Spartan races are a result of the fitness I have rather than me training specifically for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think the kind of training I do does put me into a good position for those style of things. But yeah, I do like to have some cycling fitness. The off-road duathlons I really enjoyed. I like mountain biking. I just don't get the chance to do it as much as I used to be able to, or as much as I'd like to. So I do like the idea of having bike fitness. I like trail running. I love hills. So yeah, but then all these other things, the monkey bar type stuff, I'm less keen on at the moment. But I'm getting to like them a lot more as my technique and my strength is improving.
Yeah.
With that as well. But it was more the depression I kind of felt when the key moment with that was seeing a photograph at the beach that we'd taken one day. We'd met up with a family friend, a family of friends, and there was a group picture of us at the end of the day on the beach, and I kind of saw that me in that picture and didn't recognise myself.
Yeah.
And realised that I looked awful. And that was just a really big kind of slap in the face that I didn't want to look like that anymore.
Yeah.
I knew I'd put weight on, it was, but I thought I always kind of felt I'd carried it better. Had noticed that I was finding it more difficult to get on the floor and to sit and play on the floor with the kids. But as I said, I thought I wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And until I saw that picture, I think, and realised that that's not the me I want to be. And that's not the me I want to be for my kids. And so I have phobia would be, I don't know, too strong a word, but I do have like a slightly compulsive behavioural kind of attitude anyway when it comes to things. If I get into a routine, I like to stick to the routine.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things key to success in anything is making a habit of it, doing it regularly. And I just happen to have fallen into this routine now where, you know, my weight over time during my whole adulthood has been, you know, in terms of weight gain and slight loss. But I have actually managed to hold a consistent weight now for, I think it's like 4 years now, where I'm comfortable in my skin.
Yeah.
You know, happy with the way I look. And I do want to hang on to that for as long as possible. So I have a terrible diet. I don't like vegetables, so I don't eat any fruit or vegetables or salad products. So the majority of my meals are very, very poor nutritionally. But dieting also makes me miserable. If I'm hungry, then, you know, then I'm not happy. So I do train harder for calorie burn, just so that I don't have to think about what I eat.
Yeah.
And that I can enjoy the process of eating what I want when I want, I suppose. So
Yeah.
it is more of a lifestyle rather than, and the success in the sport is coming as a, you know, as a convenient and happy coincidence, really.
Yeah.
I suppose. Or is it as it was probably until this weekend. You know, this last weekend gone with actual, you know, it so much riding on it in terms of it actually being a proper competitive event that I could potentially win was actually I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I've done it in other things, but never in sport. And yeah, this weekend has been a bit of a game changer, I think.
What do you think that this success has given you?
Anxiety. And pressure on myself. And you know what? I was telling you, I had so many problems with the journey on my way. It was simple in the head: leave work, travel overnight. I left work in Manchester at 8 o'clock in the evening. I was going to from Manchester down to Gloucestershire. It was saying 3 hours on the sat nav. It would get me in somewhere closer around 11 at night. Find a lay-by or somewhere, sleep in the car, find somewhere to have breakfast in the morning, rock up at the race, run, drive home afterwards. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And then the car broke down at Cheltenham. It was looking like I wasn't even going to get to the race. I ended up staying up all night, effectively. I didn't have any breakfast going into the race. I literally stood on the start line so ill-prepared. But actually, whilst I'd been at work during the day before, and maybe even the day before that, because I'd put so much pressure on myself that if I won this race, I'd win the championship series, I was actually feeling a little bit of, you know, performance anxiety. It was playing on my mind,
Yeah.
which I've never done before. I've never worried before going into a race or anything, because I was just turning up and running and having the time of my life. So I think I was feeling a little bit of pressure, and actually the best thing about all the stress and everything and not being prepared was that I hadn't even given myself time to worry about my performance. As soon as they said ready, steady, go, that was it. I was just like, I'm just going to run, and I'm just going to run as hard as I can for as long as I can, and hopefully run faster than the guy who wants to beat me.
Yeah.
So it worked, and now, yeah, I said, now thinking, like, do I do it again next year? You know, I'm in a position now where, you know, I'm at the top of my age group, and I quite like it. I want to stay there, but it just does mean that I've got to now have a change of mentality, I think, for preparing for the races, is that now I've got to start to prepare as if I want to race to win, and strategize and things like that, and look at the other competitors, and, you know, it will change things how I go forward, I think.
Yeah. It's always really interesting to me about, because essentially, like you're saying, you're top of your age category, so in my head that's like high level sport that you're now doing, and the difference between someone doing it for fun and someone that's doing it at a high level. Like, I'm so fascinated in the mindset, and not just the mindset it takes to get there, but then coping with the pressures of that. Because, like you see on the Olympics, they've trained for, just for that one Olympics is the 4-year cycle. The amount of pressure and training that goes into that. And I was talking about this yesterday, actually, where it's like, they always talk about whoever gets gold, they probably go home depressed because they've worked so hard. Their whole life and structures around that, and then they've reached their A game, and then that's it. And it's like, well, what's next for me? What do I do? But then I think, like, they might have the option of going again in 4 years' time, so then they're already thinking of that. But at some point that will end. But then what about the people that have done the same level of training and commitment and not won? They might not have podium. They're stories of people that have committed their lives, and it's their only chance to go to the Olympics, and they might not have even got to the finals of their event, or they might not have even qualified for the Olympics. Like, the amount of pressure you put on yourselves for a sport is insane, and seeing how different people cope with it is just fascinating to me.
Yeah. No, I even winning. Well, I suppose it's regardless of the result, but in the days after a big event, when it's all I've been thinking of, even if it's not been active focus, it's always been in the, everything I do in the week before a race, I'm thinking about it in one way. If it's, making sure that I don't do any risky behaviour. I don't want to do something that's going to, they're filming for Gladiators series at the moment. I'd wanted to apply for Gladiators because it looked like really cool and something I wanted to do since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I thought that the propensity for damage was so great that I really didn't want it to impact on that. So sometimes I turned down the British champs this year. I won the British Championships last year, my first year of racing. When I realised that they were running the British OCR Championships, that was what I wanted to do, and that was what I wanted to win. That was my A game.
Yeah.
My A race for last year, and I went out, and it was a very, very close race, but I won it, and I was so super pleased. But this year it coincided with the Spartan Championship Series weekend. It was the day before, and I knew that if I entered that, I wouldn't be able to put the intensity I needed into for the Spartan race.
Yeah.
So I sacrificed it. I didn't turn up, and I know I could have won it and kind of kept hold of my title, I suppose, as it is. But I had to let it go, and that was, hopefully for the greater good. But everything, your mind on your thought process is about that race, and making sure that you're hopefully hitting it at your peak. And it just means that in the days afterwards I do feel a little bit lost. When you wake up the day after the race, okay, I ache like hell, but it's just like, I'm not planning anymore. I like the planning process.
Yeah.
I think it's something about keeping the brain organised. It's just like, I like preparing my shoes. I like, sorting my laces, my clothes. I like all the, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm very good at planning, I think. Good, preparation.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that as much as the execution. I think I do like all the planning. Travel arrangements. They haven't been working out so well for me recently. I do like making travel arrangements, and as I said, just all the associated planning, not just the physical preparedness for it, but everything that goes with it. I just really enjoy the whole process.
Yeah.
And then in the days after a race, so I can't even begin to imagine if your dreams have been shattered or you haven't actually fulfilled your potential.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit stoic as far as that goes. As I said, this last event, I had built it up so it was me v somebody else. It came down to, at the end of it, an Italian racer, and we were joint points going into this last race of the series. So it was whoever came. Even if neither of us won, it was whoever was next to finish got the points that they needed to win the series overall.
Yeah.
So it had turned into a personal battle with somebody. But for the most part, I'm only ever competing against myself. It's the accomplishment of completing the course.
Yeah.
It's the obstacle completion. I'm always aiming for 100% obstacle completion on a course, but actually, apart from this 5k one, because there are fewer obstacles than you get on the longer courses, I did actually do it. But there's always something that gets in the way, obstacle wise, or you don't do it as smoothly as you wanted to. Those are the things I compete against, because I never expect to win. And I couldn't even hope to compete in flat races. Even in my, for my age, I'm good for age now in OCR, but in marathon terms or half marathon, 10k, I can't even hope to get under 40 minutes for a 10k now. And there's people in their 60s, who, if I were into a race, I wouldn't even feature in the top percentile of the race on flat.
Yeah.
So I just look to do how I feel at the end of it.
Yeah.
That I've put my best effort in, and I've come away, and I've enjoyed the race, which is what I've always done.
Yeah.
So it's only this very, very last race on Sunday where I actually, the outcome might have been different if he'd beaten me, I suppose.
Yeah. I always find that like a really interesting point. So I coach gymnastics as my full-time job, and the amount of coaches that I'll look at, and they're constantly comparing their gymnasts to other gymnasts or our club to other clubs, and it gets on my nerves, because in my head, like you're saying, that's not how you get to your best level in a way. Like you're saying, you focus on you versus the course. You want everything to go as well for you as possible, and your competition's irrelevant up until that last race. And that's how I see high level competitors, is it's you versus you. You're trying to do your absolute best. How everyone else doesn't matter, because if you've done your best, then why does it matter what they're doing?
You can't measure your success with somebody else's ruler. The secret of my success is, if you look at my sleeping patterns and my diet in particular, they would not work for anybody else. I'm not even sure whether they work for me, but I make it work, or I work everything around the fact that my diet is so bad that if somebody says, "Oh, you're successful, what's your diet?" I said, "Well, follow this plan. It involves cheeseburgers and pizzas and no salad and veg." Nobody else is going to have the same results.
Yeah.
So it's about finding what works for you, I think, as well. So yeah, you can't measure, you can't compare in one sense. It's a poor way of measuring success, I think, or how to achieve it.
Yeah. It's so easily done, especially like I obviously always compare things to gymnastics because that's my area. It's so easily done because there's the scores you're looking at, and it is a competition, and you're like, I just want to be as good as them. But like you're saying, like your journey's different to theirs. They've got their own things that they're struggling with, and they'll probably be comparing themselves to others as well. But when you get to the highest level, their only focus is themselves. I feel like all the energy spent worrying about what others are doing is energy taken away from your success.
And gymnastics is, I've competed through I'm a bartender by trade, so I work in my specialty is cocktails and spirits. So I have actually competed globally in cocktail competitions and bartending competitions, which sounds like a really kind of weird thing, but it's presentation and knowledge and and making drinks on a stage in front of hundreds of people. But the taste of the drinks, the appearance of the drinks, and perception it comes down to 2 or 3 people, and it's their whether they like it or not, and you've got no control of their taste buds. There's competitions which I haven't won, which I pretty much feel that, I really, if I had a different set of judges in front of me, it would have been a completely different result, and you have to accept that. I think with events that aren't first past the post or whatever, if there is a judging or a marking criteria, then you can't compare yourself to anybody else. It's about you can only hope to do things and put things together in a manner where you're happy with it. If you do a complex routine, you've got that, do you put that move in that's going to put your tariff up, and risk getting more points? But it's a risky thing. I competed at trampolining when I was a kid, and in my age group was a guy called Ian Mallon, and he was GB squad. I wasn't. I was club level, but I beat him once because he fell off.
Yeah.
He was doing really super complex technical things. I was just bouncing up and down, but he came off. It didn't work for him on that day, and I beat him. It's a really shitty way to think of something as an accomplishment, but you can only compete against who's there.
Yeah.
And you can only compare yourself to how they did on the day.
Yeah.
So you can't beat yourself up, I think, on other people's performances. I only ever hope to do the best I can, because when I was in my A game, when I was at my peak in cocktail competitions, it literally was. It got to the stage where I walked into the room and everybody's head just went, ugh, who's going to come second to Jamie? And that was the reputation I'd got, and I'd earned it, and and that was how it was for a few years. In sport or anything else, I don't have that. I could never even dream of walking into any arena and thinking, this is mine. I'm gonna win it. I do understand that for some racers, they need that mindset. Like the arrogance of the 100 meters runners, people like Noah Wiles and things like that, who go in there and they've got that attitude where they're strutting around like a peacock, going, you've got to beat me. And
do you think that any of that is fake though? Do you feel like that could be just a facade?
It could well be. I mean, it certainly could. I mean, I suppose it's like my own social media. I only like to put positive things on for the most part. All my personal crises, I don't put onto Facebook. I think it does paint an artificial picture of the world where I only want people to see when I'm doing good, I suppose, and I don't really reveal as a lot of the the traumas behind it. So yeah, it could be a useful psychological tool, where you walk into a room with confidence, and people question themselves. I think, I don't know, I've even through team sports, when I played hockey for a while, I loved playing hockey. I loved playing with a team. I didn't like the sledging. I didn't like trash talking. I didn't like the niggling, the trying to kind of foul and get away with it. I've never liked that. It's one thing I don't like about soccer. I don't like the game of soccer because too much of it goes on. The arguing with the referees. I just like, it's a decision, deal with it. I just love proper sportsmanship.
Yeah.
You go out, you do it as best you can. If you lose because the other team played better, well, fair play to them. I'll come back. I'll try again next time, and hopefully we'll win next time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't play mind games at my race, but I'm still quite unknown. I think that's the thing, is because I've only been racing, this is on my second season of competitive racing, that it's always never been it's somebody, where somebody's watching you knowing, I've got to beat you. This year, there's a chap called Simon, Simon Passmore, he's amazing actually. He's probably somebody you want to get in touch with, because he's just an absolute phenomenal athlete, and he's a current High Rocks world record holder, and he was in my age category at Spartan, and he streets ahead of me in terms of fitness and things like that, even though we're the same age. And he decided not to race this year. He was concentrating on the High Rocks. So I knew it had, because I'd come second and third to him a couple of times last year, I knew that it gave me an opportunity to step up in his absence. And looking around previous results, I did feel that there weren't many other people currently competing in my age category that, would give me a stronger run for my money. So I didn't know coming into this season that I had a good shot at the championship series. So the first race of the year at Henley, which was the 21k, I went out. I didn't race particularly well because it was my first 21k run of the year. I hadn't actually done any half marathon distances runs up to that point, which was probably a mistake, but I got through it. I got through it well, and I came first. So there we go, well on to so maximum points. It's a Formula One style system on championship races. So it's an accumulation of points over the 3 races then, given your position. So the more races you do and the better you place, the more points you get. And it's the person with the most points at the end wins the championship. So I podiumed first, and I never really thought much about it. Going into the second race at Beaver Castle in Lincolnshire for the Super, which is a 10k distance, get stood in the starting pen, didn't see anybody I know. Nobody there kind of stuck in my mind as people I should be watching out for. There was another guy there who I was familiar with, Chris. I was, chatting with him, and I know he's the guy who came third to me. And we raced. I knew I was ahead of him. And when the results came in, I'd come second, and this other guy had won, which I was a little bit gutted about. But then realised that he was the guy who came second to me at Henley. So now after 2 races with a first and a second place each, we're both joint on points. And when I looked him up, discovered that he's also taking part in another couple of championship series across Europe. He's running in the Italian one. He's a really accomplished and very, very good racer. Did I realise that I actually had a competition on my hand?
Yeah.
So when we stood on the start line at badminton this weekend, I was looking out for him. There's always the half hope that because he was travelling from Italy that, coming all the way over from Italy for a 5k race, half an hour of running, that he might have thought, it's not worth the effort. So when he turned on the start line, I would deal with and he looks really fit, and he looks fast, and I was just like, shit, and this is going to be, hard work, but yeah, and I don't think he knew who I was either. Yeah. So I didn't feel, that there was this, I'm going to beat you kind of thing, that this kind of psychology would. But I did consciously, and I don't compete in my GB vest. Some guys kind of do, and I would love to. Yeah. But I don't know if it feels like it puts a target on me. Somebody's there and going, all right, he's a Team GB racer, therefore he's the guy to beat. Yeah. I'd rather fly under the radar, I think. Yeah. And, people not knowing me because the OCR scene has been so well established for a while, and people know who the top racers are on there. And I still think I'm a general unknown in it. It's always one of those things. Like it was when I won my first ever big cocktail competition. Yeah, I suppose it was in a competition in London. It was held in a bar, and at the end, when it came to announcing the results at the end of it, it was something like, and in third place it's so crowd goes wild. In second place it's so from so and crowd goes wild. And in first place Jamie Stephenson from Manchester. It's like silence. Everybody's like, who? What? I was like, yay! And literally cheering myself to claim my prize in a room of absolutely gobsmacked, dumbfounded people. So yeah, I do think it's nice. It all changed. Obviously, it got to the point where, people were expecting me to win, but yeah, it's probably still this thing at the moment where I like being a little bit of an unknown quantity that people don't know who they're competing against. It's going to change after this season now. I know that there's a guy coming up, Toby, who's coming up into our age category, and he's similar timings across all three distances for me. And it was joked, this weekend when we were all together, this is the man you've got to beat now. So there is this, thing between us, which I'm looking forward to. And I know him, he knows me now, and hopefully, and there may be more of the people coming in, either travelling from abroad or, coming into our age cat that I don't know of just yet. But at least I know that there's going to be a rivalry between us, I think, now. So it is being elevated somewhat from just the turning up and racing. I think next season, if I do the Spartan Championship Series again, it's going to be I'm going to be watching him and he's going to be watching me, I think.
Yeah. What made you make the jump between doing it for fun and then stepping it up to, I'm going to take this seriously now?
My first one I did in the open category, and my first year I think I did 3 Spartan races in the open category, and just looking at the results, just seeing that I was positioned within the top 10 of the day's results in the open category overall as well, not just for my age cat, that I was actually coming really high in the day's open results, realising that either it was my a combination of technique and fitness that I was at a fairly decent level, and then looking at the age group results, then seeing that they were comparable and that I could hold my own. So after that kind of first couple of races, it's my first time ever doing a Spartan race, so learning about the obstacles you don't see anywhere else. They are some of them are pretty much okay. Obviously, there's some things where you just climb up and climb down the other side. That's overall everywhere kind of things. But there are some obstacles which are unique to Spartan, which you need experience on to become good at. So doing those first couple of races that first year, but coming out of that first year, then thinking, next year I'm gonna, and it would be being the first year in my new age cat as well. So when I was 49 then, coming into 50 last year, knowing then that I would also be the youngest person in my age group, and that historically it's just not a very well represented age cat. For one reason or another. And it's funny because even this year, the 45 to 49 category has been super, hotly contested with faster times than mine. And the 55 to 61 the same. So I've been in this nice little bubble this year, which, it's just been fortuitous, really. It's probably given me my only chance, or my best chance of securing it, which is what I knew going into it. But and now job done, I do actually want to fight to try and get it again next year. But I think it was the fact that I was going to be the youngest in my age cat, gave me that little bit of motivation to step up to competitive waves then, rather than just running. And it's a lot of money. I would much rather, for participation, when you're paying over 120 quid for an entry, plus the travel costs and everything like that, it's too far to go and too much to invest without taking it seriously. I just can't even afford to do half as much as I'd love to do. I can't enter as many races. I work Saturdays for the most part, so when it comes to an event, not only am I paying to be at the event, but I'm taking time off work to do it as well. So I'm paying twice because I'm losing money to go as well. So, it's a really horribly expensive business. So I've cut down the number of events I do, and I think taking them a little bit more seriously gives it that at least a little bit of justification.
Yeah.
And the same as we go next week, going to Costa Rica. A hideously expensive trip for what is going to be a massive, vanity project. But, it was just the one thing, that one box to represent my country at a World Championships is just something that so few people get the opportunity to say.
Yeah.
And having not even been in the running for anything, turning 50, to be 51 now and being presented with that opportunity is, mind-blowing. And it'll be a learning experience. Again, it's going to be different obstacles and something format that I'm not used to. So I don't have any expectations in way of performance for this one. So again, fucking expensive way to learn the hard way how to do something.
Yeah.
But it's they're in Sweden next year. I know I've secured qualification and selection for it. So hopefully then this is the springboard to a better race at the World Champs next year.
Yeah.
I think, like with Spartan racing, I don't think you can ever hope to just go in there and win on your first. I'll be lucky to even finish the race as far as the way things are looking. But I'm getting a little bit giddy about it now. Although not looking forward to the travel situation, given my recent
you've not had the best luck with travel.
So so providing I get there, and it's 3 planes each direction.
Wow.
I went the cheapest way possible
to
try to do it. So it involves a very convoluted journey. But as long as I get there, I'll turn up, I'll run, and I will do the best I can. And unfortunately, the amount of almost anal attentiveness to details and preparation, in my head, knowing what I'm going to do, things like that, I think do help. Rather than just trying to turn up and wing it. That's it. All the forethought, the reading of the rules, manuals as well, and things like that, and having a focus will help me. The weather's going to be an unknown. They're in a rainy season at the moment, so it can go from bright sunshine to thunderstorms within seconds, and it's a really humid environment. I think they're experiencing 80 to 90% humidity all the time at the moment, so I don't know how I'm going to race in that kind of heat. But I will do my best. I know that anyway.
Something I want to pick up on is obviously you're starting this quite late, but you're doing really well for like your age category and everything, and in general, like, you are just smashing it, to be fair. And I just want to know, like, what advice you would give to people that were in the sort of state that you was in before, where you didn't like how you looked in the mirror, because the amount of people that are probably in that place now, but then struggling to see a way out of it, and they think that it might be too late for them, or it's too late in life, or anything like that. How would you like advise them getting out of that space? What helped you the most?
Routine. You have to create a habit. I think that's the same with anything. And I can't remember the thing. It's something you have to do something 27 times for it to become a habit. For me, it was simply a case of doing it immediately. These whole things. The majority of diets fail because everybody says, I'll start it on Monday. Don't. Stop now. Don't plan to stop something. Just stop. You know, start your change like that. If it comes with a thing where you're planning to start a day, I think that often quite fails, especially with it Monday, with a lot of people being a stressful day or first day back at work. It's a miserable fucking day anyway. Why compound that misery then by making a change that you're not happy with?
Yeah.
So if you don't even give your body time to react, you know, just say, right, okay, I'm just going to do this. For me, it was saying no to treats and cutting down on bread. Those were the two targets I set myself. That if anybody offered me something, because it was especially in the run up to Christmas, you know, where there's loads of sweets and everything kicking around, if somebody offered me something, I would just say no. And that actually really helped. It's not a case of, you know, I would never even try to kid myself that I'd only ever say yes to be polite because I wanted those sweets. So, but even just turning down sweets and eating a little bit less bread helped me with the fact that I had committed to doing a 40-minute session on my bike. Again, I might be fortunate in the fact I've got the space to have my road bike permanently on a turbo trainer in our lounge. Not everybody has that space. Not everybody has as accepting a partner who will allow that to happen. But it did mean that every morning, as soon as I woke up before breakfast, I sat on my bike for 40 minutes and moved my legs. Made far easier by the fact that I just have my iPad on a clamp on the handlebars, and I watch a TV program, box sets. I never sit in front of the TV. I don't like sitting down and watching TV. It's not something I've ever done because my career as a bartender has always been getting home at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. There was never anything on TV to watch, so I've never ever been in the habit of watching telly on the sofa.
Yeah.
So I missed out on Breaking Bad and Games of Thrones. I never had much interest in it or whatever. But actually it has been quite nice to actually be able to sit on my bike, moving my legs while I'll binge an entire... I watched Breaking Bad series 1 to 6 in one go. Actually, X-Files. You're considerably younger than me, so you know X-Files was a big thing when I don't even know how old I'll be when it was a big thing, but it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And looking back, I found it was like 20 odd series of 20 episodes, and I watched them all from start to finish. I think it took me just over 6 months to go through them all, but it just makes the miles just seem effortless. And I say I'm not training for cardio intensity. It's nothing to do with technique. It's just metabolism, stimulation, and calorie burning.
Yeah.
So I've got into a routine where I will do it. I run 3 times a week, so the other 4 mornings will either be on the cross trainer at the gym or on the bike. And then if I'm home, I'll do the same session before I go to bed as well. So again, it just does raise my metabolism a little bit before I go to sleep, and then I have a bowl of cereal before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And for me, it works. I don't know if it does scientifically, but I feel good going to sleep, and that my glycogen levels are being replenished overnight, and it allows me to run fasted. So I get up in the morning, if it's a running day, and I'll go out and I can do 15 to 18k trail run on hills without having anything to eat or drink.
Yeah.
I will have had I have a pint of water when I wake up. First thing, that's the only thing I do. Wake up in the morning, have a pint of water,
Yeah.
and that's it. But it doesn't mean that I can run. Hopefully, just relying on my natural energy reserves without having to rely on taking food.
Yeah.
Which helps me with racing. I don't feel like I have to stop at aid stations, particularly anything up to Spartan Beast. If it's a hot day, I have had to just grab a mouthful of water as I've passed the aid station, but having to not stop and think about fueling.
Yeah.
I think just gives you a couple of extra seconds, over the course of the race, it actually feels nice running through an aid station and just saying hi and thank you to the guys on it, rather than feeling that you have to stop and use it.
Yeah.
It was not the case of the Beast. I did the Beast straight after we did the sprint race at the weekend, so I was already unprepared because I'd not had breakfast or anything. So going out to then do a half marathon on an empty stomach in that heat was not a good idea, as it would turn out. But so I did stop at every aid station for as long as I could. I would have moved in if I had the opportunity. I think I felt terrible, but yeah, that's part of my routine again. It's just extra calorie burning. Just take an opportunity to try and burn more calories than you can, than you consume.
Yeah.
Reduce portion sizes. We overeat. Food is too easy nowadays, and we make our portion sizes too big.
Yeah.
So that was the key thing for me. And sorry, I really, really kind of went linear on your question, but it's not too late to make a change, and it doesn't take big changes. It's a small commitment to doing one thing, or one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And although I really, really do believe that you set precise and measurable goals, so not just say I'm going to lose weight, you say that in 2 weeks I am going to have lost a pound.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. I just haven't been able to do it myself. So I don't know whether it feels hypocritical for me to suggest it, but as I say, my diet, what works for me doesn't work for everybody else.
Yeah.
It's finding your own thing. I do believe in the idea that you should set yourself a goal that is, a proper goal, rather than don't just go out to say I'm going to lose weight. Think about a target at least,
Yeah.
and a time frame, but do it sensibly. Say don't try to change everything at once. And for me, it was just introducing the bike into my daily routine and reducing my portion sizes, and it dropped. I was actually amazed that within 6 months, 4 months even, I'd gone from this overweight, body that I didn't even recognise, and I actually got to the point where I could actually see I had abs. And I've coming into, I was late 40s as it was then. Never in my life before have I ever had that, low amount of body fat, for it even to be, to be able to differentiate different muscles. So not just a combination of muscle size, but just that, definition. So you could actually even see that there are muscles, and that then sparked another. When you start to see results, you become more inspired by it. I think you see a result, and then that promotes another change. And in terms of advice, again, don't weigh yourself. Weight is your relationship to the earth and gravity. Weight, means absolutely nothing. It's about how your clothes feel. You're losing weight because your clothes will change. And you don't see it in the mirror straight away, because you see yourself so often. You don't see the gradual changes.
Yeah.
And it's the same with putting it on. I genuinely didn't notice. It was only looking at that photograph that I thought, hang on, that can't be right.
Yeah.
When did that happen? So don't look in the mirror. Don't stand on the scales. Use a tape measure, but it's how your clothes fit is where you start to see the results.
Yeah.
Make a commitment, and just change one thing at a time. Worked for me.
Yeah. Amazing. What's next for you then? We've already touched on it, but what's the next year hold?
It's all going to come down to affordability. I've maxed wife's credit card out for this trip to Costa Rica, and say usually The great thing about doing Spartan and Tough Mudder is that if you spend a day volunteering, you get a free race. So I used to give a full weekend. I'd volunteer on one day and race the next day, so that the volunteering paid for my racing. But because the competitive waves happen when they need technical officials and things like that, which is what I do, I need to be in the race running it, not standing watching people running it.
Yeah.
So I haven't had the volunteering opportunities that I normally have. So I haven't got any free races banked for next year. So everything has to be self-funded.
Yeah.
As I said, it's all very, very expensive. So it's going to be a case of looking at financially what I can hope to commit to. It's still to be decided, but fingers crossed, that in the past, winners of the Spartan Championship Series have won a season pass, so that will fund my Spartan races for next year.
Yeah.
Which gives me then a little bit more leeway to pay for other events if they look fun and I want to do them. So if that happens, then the Spartan Championship Series will be my focus next year. Otherwise, I guess I'm going to do World's Toughest Mudder. It's being held in the UK for the first time ever. I was kind of gutted. Again, it's not something I've ever really wanted to do. And the same with Europe's Toughest Mudder this year. I've been a technical official at it for the 2 years I've been doing OCR, and never once at 3 o'clock in the morning have I stood and looked at somebody and gone, "Oh, do you know what? I'd really like to be doing that right now." I've always thought it looked horrible. I go out, do one lap as fast and as hard as I can, and I go home, and I absolutely love it. I have never once crossed that finish line and thought, "Oh, do you know what? I'll go out and do it again." Never appealed to me at all, but I did think that this year, given my level of competence and the fact that they held it at Yorkshire, at Skipton this year, which didn't clash with any other events nearby, either side of it, which meant that I thought, I could put some effort into it and it wouldn't impact my proper goals.
Yeah.
So I signed up for it this year and actually did all right. I ran it with a group. We entered as a team, so with Matt, Dan and Ollie, and we podiumed as team relay kind of winners for that, which was beyond expected for me, and super. And I'd had a thought about doing World's Toughest Mudder because this year it's being held in Orlando, or just outside Orlando, in Florida, which is only an hour's drive from where my mum lives. So it's the one location really where I could have had somewhere to stay and got to and from, fairly easily and probably considerably cheaper. But with Costa Rica and everything like that it wasn't going to happen. I had no way I could afford to go to Florida this year. So I thought that was my chance at World's Toughest Mudder gone. And then they've announced that they're going to hold it at Grantham next year. Which is the week after the Spartan race as well.
Yeah.
So it means that if I'm running Spartan competitively, I can go there and race hard, and World's Toughest will just be a partition, an experience for me. But that's a 24-hour format for that one. That's as many laps as you can do in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So, again, not my bag, but a very nice box to tick off and a good opportunity to test my mental fortitude as well as the physical side of things. I suppose.
That sounds amazing.
So that's it. Spartan series and a stab at World's Toughest Mudder with just an aim of participating in it for the experience more than anything.
Yeah.
And we've just, unfortunately, the majority of all the good races are so far south. Again, it's the travel and everything is the biggest factor with these, having to take time off work and travel such long distances. But all the really cool events, we think that, unfortunately, with Manchester being the centre of the universe, all the good OCR events are so far away from it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So affordability is going to be the the big thing. I might hang on to my GoFundMe page a little bit longer. I put a GoFundMe out to try and get some assistance with Costa Rica, and that helped. So friends and family have chipped in for that to help pay for things like the accommodation, the team kit, and stuff like that. So that was nice. So yeah, but it's a little bit, I don't know. It feels weird asking. I can understand sponsor. There's so many good things to ask people to sponsor you for, worthy causes, and some people doing amazing things. So it feels a little bit wrong just to ask people to bung you a bit of cash just to help you go on your jollies. But sponsorship and funding, is going to play a big role in what I can achieve next year, I think. BOS, British Obstacle Sports, we are going through the process of trying to get recognition as a proper sport. So we're going through the process of recognition with Sport England, Sport Scotland, Sport Ireland, Sport Wales. Once we get official sport recognition, then that might open us up to funding streams and things like that, especially with ninja sport being on the up. Things like the Gladiators and the Ninja Warrior program on TV, is proving that it's a good visual thing. They're moving OCR into the modern pentathlon. We've had a merger with modern pentathlon in that they're taking out the equestrian as the fifth discipline. So from Los Angeles, the fifth discipline is going to be, I think it's 100 metre sprint course. But again, that should ignite a little bit more enthusiasm for OCR. So the sport is, in the ascendancy, and hopefully then, that will bring in more sponsorship and funding opportunities and make it less, impact less on people who need to pay for everything, I suppose. We'll see.
The last question I always ask then is, if you could set a challenge for the listeners for this week, what would you set them?
If you haven't done it before, set up a Tabata exercise program. Write down a list of exercises which you can do, things like jumping jacks, mountain climbers, something that you can do within the space that you've got. If you can expand into bigger space, I'll do side shuffles. If it's pogo jumps, tuck jumps, things, press ups, but do some. You can follow your stopwatch on your phone, but write it out or have it available to you on a screen. Have a timer. Work as hard as you can for 20 seconds. Pause for 10 seconds. Work as hard as you can for 20 seconds and stop. And then do a second exercise. And repeat that twice. So you do a minute of the first exercise in 2 sets of 20 seconds work, 10 seconds rest. And then you do the second exercise. So that's 4 minutes. Then you rest for a minute. And then you repeat that 8 times then. So it's 16 different exercises. If you haven't done that kind of exercise before, it's a really good way of just getting your body working. And if you can use all your limbs, then to bring squats into it or lunges and things like that. I find it really fun. It's a challenge just to keep maintaining intensity. I think write your own exercise plan. I think a lot of people follow things already. Pick something out from it. There's so much information on the internet and things like that. My challenge would be write your own exercise plan and follow a Tabata style routine if you can, HIIT kind of thing, and give it a good bash.
Amazing. If people want to follow you, follow your journey, see how you get on with all of your upcoming competitions, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at dadbodv 2.0 and Jamie Stephenson on Facebook. It's an open public page, so you can follow me or add a friend request on there. And Instagram are the only two real things. when I remember, update things like that. I'm actually in a process of trying to be quite regular with my posting on Instagram. I've had like a 2-month break off it where it was all getting a little bit much for me.
Yeah.
But I'm back on it, and especially now documenting this journey to Costa Rica then, as it is, however that may turn out. So yeah, but if anybody ever does want to ask me any questions about what I've done, how I've done it, or anything like that, get in touch. It's all there.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. And good luck with your race.
Thank you very much.